Hello?
Hello, how's it going?
Not too bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear now.
How's it going?
Not too bad. Hey, thanks for joining the show again. You're Harry from Strabane, isn't it?
It's me. I have decided to call back in once again. It's been about, I would say, I must have rang in about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the last time.
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining me again. So have you been doing any studying recently, or what have you been up to recently?
Well, I was watching all your videos at the playing championship time, and I would have to admit that the ones that I was most interested in was the Sinn Fein MI5 ones that you did, where you were jarring them outside their tents.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I thought once again that it's since the last time I called in, it was about Sinn Fein IRA. I think I would just ring in again and give a bit more insight, maybe for the callers. Tonight I was going to go on to the arm shipping from Libya, the connection under that, the lock all ambush, how the leadership of the Sinn Féin / IRA were looking to wage down the war to go into the peace process long before the 90s. It was a part of the plan, and just the general war stuff as well, but I think I'll just start asking the Libya connection and work from there.
Alright, okay. So why don't you get into the Libya connection then?
Well, it was in the early 70s at the start, you see, after the troubles began. You see, they were, at the beginning, it was just a matter of what arms they had from leftover campaigns for, like, example, the border campaign, well, Operation Harvest, they called it as well, whatever remains the guns they had then, and whatever they could get shipped over from America at the start. But there wasn't near enough, you see, so they made contacts with Breton nationalist groups over in France and Brittany, and then it was through that contact that they mentioned maybe Libya might help you out, and because Libya at that time was when Colonel Muammar Gaddafi took control in a bloodless coup. They kicked out the British and the imperialists. So it was mentioned to them through that network, and then the initial contact between the IRA and the Libyans was in Poland at the start. It was in Warsaw between Joe Cahill, leading West Belfast Provisional, and the Libyan Intelligence Service. And it was after that meeting, maybe a year later, that the first major shipment via boat that came into Ireland. That was actually captured at the start. There was before that was called the Claudia. It was caught off the coast of Wexford, and Joe Cahill was on board at the time as well. He actually went over to collect the shipment, and at that time he was the chief of staff and the provost. And there was an airplane shipment before that, but there was only so much they could put on the plane, you see. So one of the first shipments Libya and Gaddafi gives to the IRA and the Irish at the time was flown on a small airport, but they couldn't land because it was too small, so they had to make reasons to get into Shannon Airport. And this just shows you how lax airport security was back in the early 70s, especially in Ireland, that the IRA were able to fly in guns from Libya.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Like, the very slack airport security, alright though. Did they bring much weapons in?
Well, at that time in the airplane they got ones in, there wouldn't have been that much. In comparison to the boat, there was 5 tons of weapons caught in the boat after that in 1973. So that there would have been one of the biggest shipments they've ever received at that time, because that was just in the infancy of the troubles, really, 1973. But it wasn't until later on that they received the bigger shipments. But one of the big reasons for that was after that got caught, there was a bit of a fallout between the Libyans and the IRA, because their go-to man after that there was a school teacher from Monaghan. It wasn't in the IRA, he just happened to be teaching English in Libya at the time, and then he was approached by an IRA man when he was back home and says, would you be our contact over there? So that was all set up, and actually he was considered in Gaddafi's government, this man then was considered the IRA ambassador to Libya, and he was living in a big villa with all our ambassadors, at this time. Then and wet. The man, they referred to him as Mr. Eddie in Libya, but he made contacts with the UDA, and there was a project at that time that they were pushing that maybe instead of a British ruled Northern Ireland or a United Ireland, maybe there might just be an independent Northern Ireland, free of Britain and Ireland, but it worked closely with him. And he took it behind the backs of the IRA. They invite the UDA over to have these talks without the IRA leadership knowing. And then that sort of left bad blood within the IRA and him. And then that Mr. Eddie boy got kicked out of Libya. And then the UDA did a press conference saying that they destroyed, they put a spanner in the works and all. And it wasn't the years later that they got up and running after that, the bigger arms. But that was the sort of beginning of it.
Right, okay. I never heard any of that information now. You must have done a lot of research to get that info.
Well, it's numerous books over the years. A lot of stuff comes. A lot of the more intricate details has been released in later years, post-peace process, because before that there you wouldn't have got many books or many sources, interviews, documentaries, etc. People even willing to talk whatsoever, and that the political climate back here. But now it seems to be everything's coming out now, all the truth. But it was later on in them years, and you see, US started attacking Libya, and at the time they were attacking Libya, Margaret Thatcher was in power in Britain, and she was giving the US attackers, they were starting after attacks on bases in Britain, you see. So they were attacking, bombing Libya, and one of these attacks, and this was one of the attacks, they bombed the Gaddafi family home in Tripoli, and actually they were supposedly allegedly killed Gaddafi's adopted stepdaughter. But these were one of the reasons why he revamped and got back in touch with IRA, because he was getting attacked, what he would consider imperialist forces, and the fact that Britain was the enemy in Ireland at that time, and they armed them before. And then that's when the big shipments started coming in. 1985 or so, there was a meeting. The Libyan intelligence service man went over as a representative for Gaddafi, and he promised the IRA, he says, we'll give you 300 tons of weaponry, and we'll give you £10 million if you attack Thatcher's government and the British. And without a doubt, the IRA thought they won the lotto.
Right. In the IRA membership at the time, in the talks, was there, I'm sure there was probably informers anyway for the British.
See, that's not a factor at the same time. You see, in regards to the shipments, I'll go on to the Lockall ambush, and this was before. At this time, before the Lockall, they got like 150 tons of the weapon, but that was delivered in 4 different shipments. But the last shipment in a boat called Eskin, that was going to bring 150 tons altogether. But in the Lockall ambush, you see, because there was an ambush that were going to take place. It was the East Tyrone Brigade of the IRA set out their active service unit that day. They were going to pick off an RUC barracks, but it was only a part-time RUC barracks. It only opened in the mornings and the afternoons. There might have been a handful of the police constables at it at the time. So 8 men set out. They stole a digger from Dungannon. It was about 25 minutes from Lockall, but Lockall's in County Armagh, just over the Tyrone and Armagh border. So they went up there. 5 of them were in the scout van ahead, 5 of the provos, and then the other 3 were on the digger behind. But by the time they got, it was only early in the morning. It was like 7 in the morning once they approached it. So their plan was nobody would be working there. They would bust through the gates, it was like a 200-pound bomb, the bucket of the digger, blow up the police barracks, and then hit the road back to the house. But when they busted down through the gates, and then they ignited the bomb, exactly at the time the bomb went off, they realised then the first shots went out, they were in an ambush. And they say at that time there was 36 SAS members, in all different they say at least 4 different angles shooting, and they were all heavily armed, and they were backed up by the elite RUC response unit, and they were called Headquarters Mobile Support Unit. And they were all killed. They say in an estimate that the rounds fired that morning, they say there was over 1,200 rounds of ammunition fired. And then there was the 8 men were dead. Like, you know, they were never getting out of that ambush whatsoever.
Well, they knew the whole time. There must have been informers there somewhere then.
See, that's another big controversy within Tyrone Republican history is the fact that who did inform. You know, it's always been a touchy subject because for the British, they organised such an ambush or set up an undercover operation. It takes vital intelligence before them to do it, especially if one of such magnitude, because that was the biggest loss that the IRA ever took in the Troubles for any of their members, 8 men.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They took out some of the big. This was the bigger or the higher ups in the IRA, was it?
Well, these would have been the most militant active members, you know, the active service units. The leaders themselves, the chief of staff, Northern Command, etc., Army Council, they never really, like the higher ups, they never went out in operations. These were the foot soldiers at the start, but they were very dedicated and very, very militant in that area. And it was after that there, and you see, so that there was a lot of discussion going about them. Who set them up? Was it a leak within the Tyrone Brigade? Was it a leak? Was it just British intelligence was that good? They caught on to what was going on? Or was it a leak higher up within the organisation? But nobody's ever been able to find it out throughout the years.
Martin McGuinness or Gerry Adams, maybe?
Martin McGuinness at the time of that, he was the Northern Command leader. So when the IRA was restructured in the late 70s by Gerry Adams and his crowd of loyalists, they restructured the whole organisation. They went in from company and battalion structure, then in the cellular structure, and then they created the Northern Command. The Northern Command was all the Ulster counties, the 9 of them, plus Louth and Leitrim. So they split, you know, the IRA in two. They partitioned the organisation basically. So they could condense and control more the Northerners once they took, you know, gives them more power. And then, but he was at it that time. But they don't know, because see at the funerals of that was 1987. You see, and the 1981 with the hunger strikers, there was massive turnouts for funerals. This was another incident where after this happened, there was major turnouts again for the funerals. But Gerry Adams gave the oration at one of the leaders in that active service unit was Jim Lina. He was a Monaghan man, but he was anti. He wasn't a big fan of Gerry Adams at all, because the previous year they had ambushed Sinn Féin's Ard Fèis in Dublin passed abstentionism. They wanted to sit in the Dáil Parliament. And these men in this unit and very other factions, they knew once you choose to sit in the Dáil, it's only a matter of time before you recognise Stormont and Westminster. It's like a domino effect. So they knew at that time the sellout was on.
Right, okay. Very interesting.
And then, the abstentionists at that same time, the year before, that's when Rory O'Brady, he was a Roscommon man. He founded Republican Sinn Féin then in 1986. That was the first sort of break from the provisionals, but it wasn't that major. It was very small, and it was influenced by them wishing to drop abstentionism. But at that time, even before around that time, they wanted to form flying columns like they did in Cork in the War of Independence, the East Tyrone Brigade. They wanted to pick about 20 to 30 of their members, base themselves in the south in full-time camps, and then go on maybe 4 to 5 attacks, you know, during the year, full on 20, 30 people, retreat back into the south, and then have 3 or 4 active, you know, members of active service using doing regular attacks. But at the time, it was shut down by the chief of staff, the provisional area, and he was an East Tyrone man. He was called Kevin McKenna, but he would have been considered an Adams loyalist at the time, you see. So whatever he would have been going, he would have been all in touch with Adams, and then Northern Command leader would have been Martin McGuinness, and it had to pass through him as well, you see. So it was, the whole system across the board was all Adams loyalists at this time. From the late 70s right up onwards, he took over Sinn Féin, They took over the whole provisional IRA, and then they took over the media arm, which was Public and Republican News. So every part of the Republican movement was completely leadership loyal to him, vast majority of it.
Right, okay. And all you would have to do is get him to flip, and you would have all the inside information and what's going on in the IRA.
Well, that's another thing, as they're saying, you see, because at the time these boys were putting feelers out in this brigade, because the East Tyrone Brigade took in County Monaghan as well. That was a member of it, so it was Monaghan and Tyrone, you see. And they were looking at that time before that, because they knew the sellout was on. They were looking to break away and form their own dissident group. They put feelers out in Dublin for weapons, because at that time, if you were to break away, you wouldn't be allowed to take the weapons, you see. You would have to, so they were trying to put out feelers to get their own weapons, right? And then they actually made contact then with the leader of the IRA at the time was in jail. He was a man called Dominic McGlinchey from South Derry, but he was in jail at the time, so they made contact with his wife. His wife was then leader, but that contact then, because she was shot at the start of 1987 as well, you see. I can't recall by who, so that there was the IRA option out the one day, but at that time when Republican Sinn Fein formed, they never let nobody know. It was closely held secret that they also formed a paramilitary organisation called the Continuity IRA. So at that time there was no war distance they turned to. But weeks prior to that ambush, they were saying that all these dissidents met up in a house in County Monaghan from an ex-volunteer who got shot dead in Fermanagh, Seamus McEwen. They were meant to have met up in his home, and they were discussing forming a breakaway group at this time, because they realised then that the members of the IRA leadership plus Sinn Féin were trying to run down the so-called war, and then they were looking to go down constitutional politics, which they knew would just end up sitting down storming. So it was just the sellout. But see, that's another factor. You're sort of thinking, if these leadership ones, where they know that these people were willing to break away, and that they were very much militant men, and they rejected the politics that the leadership was looking to do. Was there an element of setup? Was there an element to get rid of them? Or, it's hard to pin it down, man.
I know what you're saying now. So it's hard to know too. Like, it seems like from what you're saying there that there was the top of the IRA was riddled with informers. Martin Ingram, or he's known as Ian Hurst. He was one of the handlers or the leaders in the Force Research Unit, which was a secret British military wing during the Troubles. They were operating in Northern Ireland in secret. He's written a book about Freddy Scappaticci, or Steak Knife as it's known. It's one of the best books written on the Troubles. He contends that half of all top IRA members were all informers, including Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. He goes into that in his book.
Well, I haven't read that book personally, but from the consideration that Gerry Adams was meant to be first making inroads to look for peace process and a ceasefire from 1982 onwards. But then at the same time, members of the IRA were trying to get all these weapons imported from Libya on what they would consider a Tet offensive. The Tet offensive, they got that ideology after Vietnam. The Viet Cong at one time just went on a full-out Tet offensive against the American army. You see, what that basically was, it was just full-on war all over the place, just out of the blue, like a surprise attack. All their members were just in different regions going full-on military attack, and they thought it would apply pressure, you see. So this is one of the agendas between getting these 300 tons of weapon on, and then they were going to use this element of surprise. But the thing is, that last shipment of 150 tons, two men pushed that for the Army Council, because they were going to break up the last shipment rather than just sending the whole 150 tons at one time. They wanted to break it down slowly to see if they could get it all in. But they say that the two men that really pushed for to get the whole 150 in at the one time was Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. And usually, considering their background and their behaviour, they were meant to be very calculating and very slow and, very methodical. But all of a sudden they were looking to push 150, it sort of doesn't add up when you think about it. Why would they push for that and then just all of a sudden it seems to get found then off the coast of France, it boarded the boat and they found out the whole plan then, because it was one of the most secret, it was meant to be the most secretive kept operation, because the element surprises what they were waiting to do, you see. But then once the last boat was found, that was it. The Brits knew what was going on, and then there was no hope of implementing that Tet offensive, as what they so-called were going to do.
You see, the reason, obviously, people in the IRA wanted to divide up the shipments into 4, because maybe they might get 2 and 2 might be caught, but if there was one shipment, there was a higher chance that if it was caught, you would lose all the weapons. So if it was smart for them to do that, but it just shows that the 2 people who were pushing the one shipment was Jerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. Doesn't that say it all?
See, it always seems to link back to them now. Once you start seeing, and that shipment alone, it was called the ESCUND, ESKUND, the boat, and they say that there was 1,000 AK-47s, over 1 million rounds of ammunition. I think there was over 400 grenades, rocket launchers, heavy machine guns. I think there was missile launchers as well. They took down
helicopters,
detonators, fuses, and 2 ton of Semtex, and that was all caught. And that was the last shipment, the 150 tons. But before that, they broke down the first 150 tons into 4 different shipments, and they got all 4 of them through. But another thing is, the last 4 shipments, they were met at the coast of Malta, but with this last shipment, they actually docked in Tripoli, in the harbour in Libya, to get it loaded because there was that much yet. But there was a man on the boat. He was the head bomber, the engineer department, but he would have been one of the most prolific bombers, engineers. He was a Taliban, Gabriel Cleary. The purpose they wanted him on the boat was because they wanted to scuttle the boat in case they were caught. So he applied bombs around the base of the boat. So if they were going to be mounted by the police or the navy or whatever, he would just scuttle the boat and it would go under the bottom of the sea and they wouldn't know the plan, you know what I mean? But when they came off the coast of France and they were caught, he realised then when he went to scuttle the boat that it was sabotaged. So somebody sabotaged it. He says it wasn't at the port of Tripoli, it was sabotaged. It was somebody on the boat apart from himself that actually went in and sabotaged the wires. So it was set up from the whole start.
Oh yeah, yeah. It sounds like the MI6 knew the entire operation.
See, they had somebody on that boat. There was only 2 other fellas that weren't on the IRA. They were 2 Dubliners. One was an estate agent, another was a bookstore owner. But I think it was the estate agent that had an experience in buying boats and sailing and driving boats, so he was driving it. And then there was 2 trawler men from Donegal, but I'm not sure if they were in the area or not. But they say it was either the estate agent or the bookstore owner. But and that's how it is. They lost 150 tons of weaponry. The thing was sabotaged, but not only for the sabotage or not. That was never going to get through. There was a purpose why they were pushing to get it done, the whole lot of it in the one go, so it could just get caught, so it could never reach, because that there would have put these peace process plans that was going on with Martin McGuinness and Jerry Adams and our members. They were doing this behind the scenes. The rank and file IRA didn't know what was going on. They were told at the one hand, we're only dropping abstentionism, they sitting at all, it's no problem, we're going to carry on the war. But the whole time they were saying that because they knew if they came out and says, we're looking for peace, now we're going to end it if we can, there would have been a complete split. So they were always keeping it behind the scenes, and it seems as if they just went out of their way to keep the peace process going. The behind the scenes secret one.
It reeks, yeah. It just sounds like those 2 boys at the top, Jerry and Martin McGuinness, they were informers. It just stinks to high heaven. Well,
if you ever speak to any other people about, everybody sort of has the same mentality. If you look at all the dissidents, and there's many, many dissident factions now within the North, different fracture groups, they all feel the same. They all say that the two of them were British agents, that they sold out their own people. They sat in Stormont and they administered British rule upon the people. They met the royal family. How can you say that you're a Republican? You're running around meeting the royal family. You're sitting in Stormont. You're actively politicizing British rule upon your own people, and then you claim you're Republicans.
Aye. It doesn't look good for them. I know it wasn't Martin McGuinness in Dublin, shaking hands with the Queen of England too.
Yeah, it's not the first time too. I think that Jerry Adams was over meeting Prince Charles. There's been numerous royal family meets. Another one I've seen recently, Raymond McCartney. He's one of the top Sinn Fein politicians in Derry. He was over in Dubai. There's a photo of him on Twitter, and he's on this big fancy boat out in Dubai, right? Guess who's on the boat with? Ex-Brits.
No way.
Right. And then there's another one as well. One of the MI6 people that was sent on the Northern Ireland was called Michael Oatley. His nickname was called the Mountain Climber. He had direct links with a businessman in Derry called Brendan Duddy. He's passed away now, but he was the link, the in-between for McGuinness and Oatley. The man Duddy's passed away now, but his family, I think it's his sons or daughters, they have certain businesses around Derry. There's a new hotel opening. Who's the director of the hotel? MI6, Michael Oatley.
Jeez.
Do you not see how bad it's going? Your man Sinn Féin, Raymond McCarthy, is over in Dubai doing this with ex-Brit, so-called Republican, and then you've got Michael Oatley, MI6 handler of Martin McGuinness, is now a director of a Derry hotel.
Oh, he's actually the director of the hotel.
He's down as the director and the paperwork.
Wow.
This is what you're coming to now, and this is the same Derry that it wasn't that long ago they got awarded UK City of Culture, and all the politicians and all the businesses were running around saying, "Oh, this is great for Derry." Sure, I thought you were Republicans. They're a bunch of West Brits celebrating UK City of Culture. I thought you were fighting for years to claim that you weren't British.
Yeah, no way.
And then you get awarded like a wee token city gesture, probably out of pity and just sort of, you know what I mean? And they're running around celebrating stuff like that. It just shows you how far politics has gone astray now in the North of Ireland. There's not one nationalist party up there, and there's all the Republican factions, bar Sinn Féin, the dissidents, they're all Marxists. Every one of them is Marxist.
Yeah, as I said there at the ploughing championships to Sinn Féin, their motto now is Brits out, Africans in.
That's 100%. There's no denying. I was in a discussion with a fellow today. He's actually an ex-British soldier, and he was mentioning Northern Ireland to me. He says he'd been interested in politics, and then he brought it up. I says, Sinn Féin have completely sold out. I says, the IRA fought a war for near enough 30 years. I says, all of a sudden, since the peacetime now, they've actually just turned around and says, basically their motto was now Brits out, Africans in, everybody else in. And he didn't, and then I says to him, they basically fought that war just at the end. They just turn around and say, oh, you know what, let's just import everybody else in now, mass immigration. He couldn't understand it. He was thinking, what was it all for? I says, by the looks of things now, it was just all for nothing.
Yeah, it seems like this whole thing was orchestrated from the start. There was a plan. Like that book, Voices from the Grave, when David Irvine, leader of the UVF, went over to the White House, he was told that the IRA had to be defeated for the British Army to be used in Israel's wars in the Middle East. So this seemed like there was a plan here all along to defeat the IRA, and Martin McGuinness and Jerry Adams played their part in that as well.
Well, that's another thing. The first so-called ceasefire of the IRA was in 1994. Jerry Adams was trying from 1982, peace talks. He was doing it behind the scenes since that long. He was ready to sell out from that. He called it in the late 70s his projections of the long war. It wasn't a long war. It was the long sell out of Jerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. The whole intentions the whole time was just to sell out.
Yeah.
And there's another thing as well, what you're saying about David Irvine, they wanted to free up the British government and military to go into the Middle East to fight the Zionist wars. That's the reason why the real IRA got bomb, that they never got allowed to come out the door. They were actually gathering quite the support at the time, and then that finished them. And also another factor, they played in the role of killing Billy Wright. Billy Wright was a UVF leader in Mid-Ulster, but then he broke away from the UVF and formed the LVS, and then he got killed inside prison by the IRA. And that was another factor, because they never wanted loyalist dissidents getting off the ground, and there was meant to be solid enough evidence to prove that there was collusion between the British government and the IRA to kill him, because at the time as he was in jail, he was getting transferred or something out to the visitor wing. He was in the back of a van out in the yard, and the man was able to climb over a fence where there's no cameras, nobody was observing from the observation tower, and he was able to just enter in the back of the van and shoot him in a high security prison, one of the maximum security prisons full of so-called terrorists, the British Army call them, with a gun. How does that work out, without collusion?
Why did the British government want the loyalist volunteer force? Why did they want him dead?
At that time, he broke away from the UVF in the mid-90s. He was a very prominent UVF figure. He was very active in East Tyrone. He killed many IRA members and Sinn Fein members as well. He was well hated within Republicans, but at that time he broke away, and he was going to carry on with his activities. He wasn't going to stop. And then they didn't want loyalism having another cult hero. They didn't want it growing. They wanted to push all loyalism, republicanism, and the peace. Because he became a prominent figure at the Drum Cree marches too in Portadown. Do you remember them years ago?
Sorry?
Do you mind the Drum Cree protests in the mid-90s?
No, don't.
This was at a time, up when they marched down the Gavahi Road. That was the Catholic section of Portadown, and there was the British Army wouldn't let them. They put up barricades, and at this time there was major protests. The Orange Men, Ian Paisley and all was there, and then Billy Wright was becoming a big figure. He was present at them as well. So he was becoming very well known everywhere as a loyalist dissident, you see. So they had to control, as with most of these conflicts and wars, they have to control both sides completely. But many say that your man Wright was also a British agent, but I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the truth, to be honest, with any loyalist or Republican at this point.
Right, okay. Very interesting. Now, on the Smithwick's Tribunal, he revealed that 99% of the loyalists were were British agents as well.
I would say definitely. There's definitely a high degree. Well, considering the terms that they see themselves as British, and they wanted the British to win. So the British is not an enemy that the loyalists paramount. Do you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
No, they would see that as somebody who's helping them fight against the IRA. You know what I mean? But well, that is a factor. If you look at the way Sinn Féin now have completely turned out since the peace process, considering that they were Marxists, they adopted Marxist policies in the late 70s, but it didn't filter in with every rank and file member. It hasn't been now that it's full blown, every member supports it,
Regarding the Marxist ideology, have you any idea how that infiltrated, the Republican movement, the IRA? Because a lot of volunteers would have been just farmers, and they wouldn't have understand, Karl Marx and communism. Do you know how they infiltrated the IRA with this Marxist ideology?
It started with the official IRA. Before they were called the official IRA, they were just the IRA from the anti-treaty war on to the border campaign. It became in Dublin intellectuals, aka academics, came on the scene. And before you know it, the IRA was venturing more Marxism, communism, and at the outbreak of the Troubles, they wanted agitation politics. They didn't want no physical force republicanism. They wanted the abstentionism, and they also wanted to go full communist. So that's how the Provisional IRA was founded as a split from the officials, and that's where they got the name the officials, and then the provisionals came out, because the provisionals wanted their inception was traditional 1916 Irish republicanism and nationalism at the time, but they wanted physical force. They didn't want to get involved in politics at that time, and they didn't want nothing to do with communism. And when that split happened, most of the people in the north, after a couple of years, went over to provisional IRA because they were the most physical force at the time. But at that same time, Gerry Adams was always a communist because he was a member of the officials before the split. And then when the split came, and when he saying it was going in the provisionals' favour, he jumped ship. And they say he was always a communist from the start, but he just jumped ship because he knew the officials was going to sing. And then he just, over years and years, just putting people in the positions that he could trust and loyal who held the same views. And then over time, it just completely infiltrated Irish republicanism up in modern day. I see boys now, they don't even refer to themselves as Irish Republicans or nationalists. They call themselves Socialist Republicans.
Socialist Republicans?
I swear, this is the new vocabulary being used. You can see the shift. I see all these youth groups. Well, if you follow them in social media, like today there was a climate change action, climate hoax, I would call it. It was taking a place across the world, but Belfast had a march today as well. And the Connolly Youth Movement, which is just blown communists, they had a banner at the front with two hammer and sickles, and their banner says socialism or death.
Cheekers, wow.
This is the way it's going. If you ever see these people, don't ever have a tricolor in their hand.
No, never.
Never. All these youth groups, Ogra Sinn Fein, IRSP, IRA, Republican Sinn Fein, see all these different factions. They'll never have a tricolor in their hand, especially their youth movements. It's so strange. Like it's like this. And there was an old boy standing at the front with like a Soviet Union T-shirt or something. I was thinking, they're like a bunch of trendy hipsters who thinks communism is a trend. Little do they realise the evils of this ideology.
Yeah, we well know about the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia.
We all know who was behind that as well. People like to think it was the Russian Revolution, but it was actually the Jewish Revolution. It was the Jewish takeover of Russia, and it's still implemented to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. The world financiers, what do you call him, the man from America, the Jewish American who financed the whole thing, Jacob Schiff, wasn't it?
I'm not too sure, but there was a lot of Jewish Americans involved in the Bolsheviks from the start. But they're not Americans, because Jewish people are only ever Jewish. They have no loyalties to their host nations. The only thing they want to do is subvert, destroy, and undermine them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we were talking about communism there, and the Republican movement now. Just like you were saying, all distant groups are all Marxist communists, and you'll never see them with the tricolour. I'm sure you would see them more with an LGBT rainbow flag, or an Antifa flag, or a communist hammer and sickle flag.
I don't know. It depends on, it's all these youth movements have seemed to be, they're the next generation going to grow up. So this is what you have to look out for. You have a lot of old hands now in these orders. There's a movement in Toronto started. It's 1916 Societies, it's called. They broke away from Sinn Fein in 2008, their name. And Sinn Fein signed up to the pricing board when they accepted the PSNI, because they didn't accept it in the peace process. It took about 10 years. Once they did, there was a whole breakaway in Tyrone. I think like most of the remains of these Tyrone IRA, just the vast majority just left Sinn Fein. They just had enough. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And they formed 1916 Societies. So they have their own commemorations. They have their own wee political group, but they don't contest elections. They're abstentionists. But they're still Marxists as well.
Right, they're still Marxists.
They're still Marxists because they're pushing for socialist republic. That's what they want. And socialism is just an old word for Marxism, communism. But they proclaim to be representatives. They believe in the ideals of the 1916 proclamation. I don't believe that was Marxism or socialism.
No, even James Connolly, he might have been a socialist, but he was still a Catholic. He wasn't an atheist. He believed in God.
See, that's an order. more thing, they'll use this example of James Connolly, the one man in the 1916. They try to justify, they'll say, oh, but James Connolly thought this way. But sure, everybody else that was on vast majority of the other men that served that day did not believe in that whatsoever.
No, there was a wide variety of political ideologies all coming together. They weren't all, I would guess Republican nationalists. You had some people like James Connolly who were socialists, but they were still Catholics. They weren't atheists.
Oh no, 100%. They were all devout Catholics.
Yeah.
Even if you look back in, vast majority of them. I mind seeing a picture. It was outside Dublin Castle. It was a picture of the abortion. Once it was passed, the picture of a modern Irish woman, and they were celebrating. And then there was a picture like 100 years ago. It was after one of the men was shot or executed, and it had all the Irish women from back in, and they were all kneeling outside Dublin Castle praying. And it just shows you. I can't see if I can find this picture again, but it just showed you the sheer difference in Ireland from 100 years. Everything's just completely turned on its head. Sure, Ireland would have been quite conservative Catholic right up into the late 80s. And then it completely just, last 30 years, it's just twisted and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah. Don't know if it's a sexual revolution or the neutralization of the Catholic Church. It's probably a combination of things, isn't it?
It's a variation, a mixture. Another factor, without a doubt, is the proliferation of social media, degeneracy on TV, movies, music, universities, all these political parties pushing this stuff, and then the vacuum left by the Catholic Church. And Marxism, communism, political correctness is their new religion. It is like cultish, they are so devout to it.
Yeah, no, they are absolutely, yeah. So I've had you on now for almost 45 minutes, I would say. Harry, any more thoughts there now before I bring on Geraldo Coleman?
No, that'll be fine for now. I've had enough of a rant to do me for an hour month or so.
Good man. Thanks a million for calling in. Right, now I'll definitely have you on again soon.
I'll come back on, but I just want all your viewers to know, remember, they vote Sinn Fein for a socialist democratic republic.
I love your humour, Harry.
Right, on the way. Good luck.
Slán.
Right, slán.